cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Oh, there will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Oh, there will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be. She wrote down, let me in. Made me see where I've been. Been down one time, been down two times, never go back again. You don't know what it means to win. Come down and see me again. Been down one time, been down two times, never going back again.
A little too tall, could've used a few pounds. Tight pants points, hollering out. She was a black-haired beauty with big dark eyes, and points all her own, sitting way up high. Way up firm and high. Out past the cornfields where the woods got heavy. Out in the back seat of my '60 Chevy, working on mysteries without any clues, working on our night moves, trying to make some front page driving news, working on our night moves in the summertime. In the sweet summertime. some pie in the sky sun. We were just young and restless and bored, living by the sword. And we'd steal away every chance we could, to the back room, to the alley, or the trusty woods. I used her, she used me, but neither one cared. We were getting our share, working on our night moves, trying to lose the awkward teenage blues, working on our night moves. And it was summertime. Sweet summertime, summertime. Oh, wonder. Felt the lightning. Yeah. Waited on the thunder. Waited on the thunder. I woke last night to the sound of thunder. How far off was that morning? Started humming a song from 1962. And funny how the night moves just don't seem to have as much to lose. Strange how the night moves with all them closing in. Night moves. Night moves. Yeah. Remember? Oh, I sure remember the night moves. And I'm funny how you remember. Funny how you remember. I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember. Oh, working and practicing. Working and practicing. Oh, the night moves. Night moves.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be beginning within 5 minutes, so if you'd like to find your seat, that would be excellent. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember, I remember.
searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. You keep me searching and I'm growing old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. I've been a miner for a heart of gold. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stopped. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and a carrying signs. Mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away. We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop now. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop. What's that sound?
Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, as you're moving to your seats, hugging, patting people on the back, telling them how good they look, complimenting them, right now I feel like a dad. I just told my children to go sit down. Good afternoon. My name is Dave Clausen. I was a friend of Danny Virtue. What a great line. On behalf of the Virtue family that sits in the front here, they want to thank you for taking the time to gather, to celebrate, and to remember the breadth and depth of Danny Virtue's life. A life that deeply touched each of us in one way or another. Danny was known by many names and played many parts over the years. He was a stuntman, a master storyteller. He was a producer. He was a director. He was a philanthropist. He was a lover and tamer of horses. Not you. And those are just to name a few. But he was also known as a partner and husband to Charlotte, a proud father to Clay and to Marshall, father-in-law to Sarah, and grandpa to Leo, Felix, and Kai. And I would ask you today, in the quiet time when you leave here, that you would remember them in your prayers in this tough time of loss and mourning. Danny was a man who lived large and in his way. He didn't just make movies, he made moments. In a few moments, friends and family will come forward to honor and reflect on Danny's life. They're going to share words, they're going to show you pictures, and they're going to give you stories that will be vivid, they'll be bold, and they'll be deeply connected with him. These glimpses into Danny's world will give us a vast kaleidoscope of moments, times, and reminders of his presence that shaped our lives. But before we go any further, before I add anything or introduce anyone, I'd like you to please do this one small favor for me. The people that are around you, the ones in front, on your left or on your right, or even the ones behind you, I want you to turn to them and introduce yourself. And just tell them a little bit, I'm here because I liked him. He was my friend. Go ahead. Take a moment. Get to know the people around you. And now, if you don't mind, just turn back to those people and say, look, I'm never going to remember your name, but it was really nice meeting you. And now that you've met somebody here, maybe you have some other friends, at least you have someone at the reception later that's going to be in here to talk to. And in a moment, it's possible you may feel overwhelmed during this time. Well, it's okay to nudge that person beside you that you don't know and say, look, I don't know, I just need somebody. It's okay to cry here, but if you don't like crying, that's okay. You can just leak, okay? That's okay. It's okay to smile, it's okay to grin, and it's okay to laugh. Because you're remembering the stories and the moments that we had with Danny. And this would be honoring to Danny, and it would also bring joy to his loved ones that are here. At this point, we'd like to start with the eulogy with Jim Crescenzo, a long-time friend of Danny's. Their friendship was built on creativity, compassion, and a shared love of helping others find their purpose. Jim, please come and share.
So silent. Let me, first of all, before I begin to read the eulogy, which was written by his son Marshall, Have a look at Marshall before you go home today and tell me that he doesn't look like Tom Cruise. It's beautiful. So my introduction to Danny happened about 30 some odd years ago. I auditioned for a series called Border Town. And I felt the reading went really well, had a call back, went back. And then they say, good, can you speak, Mexican? And I said, of course I can speak Mexican. Very simple, very close to Italian. So I said, if I have to, I'll learn it. But then the director said to me, so can you ride a horse? And like any actor who needs work, of course I can ride a horse. What's it gonna be? No problem at all, sir. And I thought, bingo, gone. My agent phoned me the next day and said, well, you got cast, good for you. And then he said to me, I want you to go to a fitting in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I want you to go and see Danny Virtue on the ranch. And I said, what's that about? Oh, nothing. They just want to see if you can sit on a horse, he said to me. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get away with this one too. Anyway, I showed up at the ranch. I saw the horses running around on the field, fence around them. And there I saw Danny, big hulking Danny, putting on a saddle on the horse. And then he's, doing everything. And I looked at him and I said, hi, Mr. Virtue, I'm Jim Crescenzo, nice to meet you. And he said, oh, Jim, okay, nice to meet you too. And then there was a long pause, and he looked at me. And all of a sudden, all that gusto I had just sunk. And he looked at me and he said, you've never ridden a horse before, have you? And I said, Mr. Virtue, no, sir, I can't ride a horse. The only time I sat on a horse is when the ponies came to the parks in East Van and he sat you on it and gave you a cowboy hat. That's about it. That's Danny's street smart. And there was nobody more street smart than Danny Virtue. As I said just a moment ago, Marshall wrote this eulogy, and I have the honor to read it. So we are here today to celebrate the extraordinary life of Danny Virtue, a man defined by 3 simple rules. Number 1, never give up. From his early childhood through every career milestone and right up until his final days battling cancer, Danny never backed down from anything that life threw at him. Rule number 2, don't take any shit. Danny believed in standing up for himself, for others, and for what was right. And if you disrespected someone, hurt an animal, or tried to push him around, you'd find out quickly that Danny did not tolerate it. Rule number 3, and this is beautiful because it's the truth, be kind. Above all else, Danny had a big heart. He opened doors, he built careers, he supported communities, and he helped build an entire industry. Today isn't just about remembering Danny, it's about honoring the way that he lived and the impact he had on each and every one of us. Danny William George Virtue was born on December 26, right on Boxing Day, go figure it, 1949, right here in Vancouver. He grew up with his father, Cliff, known to many as Big Train, his mother, May, and his sister, Diane, who's with us today. Big Train was a tough, no-nonsense man who taught Danny how to stand strong. May, on the other hand, gave Danny his compassion. And in Danny's own words, he said, "My mom was the kindest person that I ever knew." Danny was a natural leader, full of energy, athletic, and always outdoors. He loved baseball, being in nature, and most of all, animals. He would bike all the way from Dunbar all the way to Musqueam Reserve, where he befriended and was taught to ride with the Musqueam people. Now, his bond for animals became one of the cornerstones of his life. He used to say, "A little tenderness, a little patience, and you could teach those horses to do anything." At just 14 years old, Danny talked his way into a circus job, helping with animals, unloading trucks, watching and learning. That summer, a future film legend was born. At just 14 years of age, Danny talked his way into a circus job. Now, when he did that, everybody asked him, "Danny, what kind of a job? Trapezius? What were you doing?" He said, "I was taking care of the animals, Jimmy. This day and age, people call it the horse whisperer. That's exactly what I was at that very young age." Danny's next chapter was anything but traditional. His education came from circus performers, agents, actors, athletes, bikers, even cops and robbers. He believed that everyone had something to teach, and he made a point of learning from everyone that he met. By his late teens, Danny was managing a nightclub, even though he wasn't old enough to get in. He never let rules or convention get in his way. He had an innate sense for business and learned quickly to see opportunities and make deals, which is how he bought the ranch when he was just 22 years old. "I saw a sign, 'Horse for sale,'" Danny would say. "I pulled in and this old German guy standing by the pond, drunk out of his mind and wearing nothing but a crooked toupee. I told him I was interested and I wanted to buy the horse. I ended up buying the whole property. That land became the ranch, a part of his identity. And Danny always wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Bill Rand was instrumental in helping Danny secure it. Something he never, ever forgot. A couple of years later, his friend Dar Robinson brought him down to the U.S. for some stunt work, and the rest is history. For over 50 years, Danny did it all, falling off buildings, crashing cars, training and stunts on horses, even wrestling bears, and the occasional wild actor. Now, he belonged to nearly every film union and was a proud member of Stunts Canada. And he worked with legends: Robert Redford, Morgan Freeman, Jason Momoa, Brad Pitt, Burt Reynolds, and the list goes on and on and on. But for Danny, it was never about fame. It was about the work, the challenge, the craft. In 1990, Danny came home to Vancouver, and he partnered with his childhood friend, Winston Reckert. And you remember this, I'm sure. They created the iconic show Neon Rider. The network wanted it to be generic, to pretend it was American. And Danny said, "No, it's not happening. We could have made more money," he said, "but we wanted it to be Vancouver. We wanted it to be Canadian, and we wanted to start something here." And he did. Neon Rider became a big part of the foundation for what BC's film industry is today. It trained a generation of professionals and helped put our province on the map. In his final years, Danny stuck with his truest passion: horses. He worked as an animal coordinator on Percy Jackson, The Last of Us, and many other films and TV shows alongside his friend Quentin Schneider. I used to ask Danny, how was your date today? Great. Crashed a bunch of cars. Fantastic. It was like nothing. What about The Last of Us? How do you do it, Danny? You're sick. He says, no problem at all. Cut. Walks over to the tree, he says, and I just threw it all up, Jimmy. Took a breath, went back to work. And those of you who worked on The Last of Us, I'm sure you know that. Danny earned several awards through his career, including the Peter Ustinov Humanitarian Award, multiple Gemini Awards for Neon Rider, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from UBCP, and an Outstanding Achievement Award for the Leo Awards. Now, those are just a few of the many awards he earned. By any measure, Danny Virtue, he was a legend. But for Danny, none of it meant more than family. He was a devoted husband to Charlotte, a loving father to Marshall and Clay, and a proud grandfather to Leo, Felix, and Kai. Danny would say, Charlotte saved me, period. She was his rock. They were together for over 50 years. She was his conscience and the one who always kept him grounded. He loved telling the story of meeting her. She was a singer, so cool. Like Tina Turner or Janis Joplin, I asked her out a few times before she said yes. But it turned out great. She was so far ahead of me and the greatest mom you could ever ask for. Marshall and Clay followed their father's footsteps. He brought them on set when they were kids and loved watching them grow in the stunt business. And then came the grandkids. Danny lit up watching them swim, play baseball, and riding with him at the ranch. You know what? His kindness reached beyond family. Danny cared deeply about giving back. He worked closely with an organization that I started 12 years ago. It's called the East End Boys Club and Girls Group, mentoring young kids who needed a shot. And every time Danny walked down the hallway of that school, or we were in a basement of a church meeting, it was unbelievable. Every kid got up, shook his hand. Hey, Mr. Virtue, how you doing? Hope everything is well. Yeah, no problem. What about you? What do you need? You call me if you need anything. How many people that he put into the Actors Union with UBCP, it'll blow your mind, that came from programs that we ran all those years. But the energy they have, Jimmy, it's real. They just need someone to show them another way, a little kindness, like my mom used to say. Earlier this year, he was awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal for his contributions to the community and to the industry. And his work will continue through the Virtue Foundation, helping young people chase their dreams. 4 years ago, Danny began facing serious health issues. He went through heart surgery, chemo, immunotherapy, and countless treatments. And yet, he never stopped. He kept training, he kept mentoring, he kept giving in and giving to those kids that really needed it. There's no question, Danny gave life everything that he had. And through his love and through his hard work, his mentorship, he changed so many lives. We've lost a father, a husband, a grandfather, a mentor, a leader, a friend, and one of the most authentic people that you could ever meet. That was Danny Virtue. But his legacy, that's not going anywhere. So when life gets tough, when you're unsure, when you feel like giving up, think of Danny and remember his rules. Never give up. Don't take shit from nobody. And like his mother used to say, always be kind. There's a legacy that we want to be able to live that Danny didn't finish yet. And it's a beautiful documentary film that he's got hundreds of hours that he shot. That still needs to be done, and also a play starring Casey Wright and overcoming adversity and facing the monster, the cancer. Be in touch with us, anybody that wants to help. Sir, do you want to come back and introduce the video?
What you just heard is now going to be in video pictorial form. A special tribute video created by Marshall Virtue and Barry Nerling, celebrating the incredible journey of Danny's life and legacy.
Danny Virtue, growing up, was a juvenile delinquent. He had a reading disability. He loved animals, loved his friends, was a pretty good athlete, hated school, hated cops.
Yeah, you got satin shoes. Yeah, you got nasty boots. Y'all got cocaine eyes. Yeah, you got sleepy giant. Can hear me knocking on your window. Can hear me knocking on your door. Can hear me knocking down the dirty street.
Danny Virtue is a legend, and I consider myself incredibly lucky to have worked with him and to witness his brilliant relationship to horses.
Can hear me knocking. Are you safe asleep? Can hear me knocking. Yeah, down the gaslight street now. Can hear me knocking. Yeah, throw me down the keys. All right now.
I've never met anybody who I can really tell is rooting for you as much as Danny Virtue.
What's up, you beautiful man? I love you, Danny.
I created a show, Neon Rider.
Find something precious. You can roll and run, you can walk that floor.
And part of it was outdoors, horses, animals. And the kids came, and it was a positive reinforcement in the TV show for juvenile delinquents. It worked.
something happening here. But what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
I don't want to be standing on the edge of a 500-foot cliff and 100 of you guys at the bottom. I'd rather take the chance of hitting the ground than I would be of going down there and saying to everybody, I'm a coward, I can't do this. It's just been in my head ever since I was a kid. Like, you know, you have to face whatever it is. You can't be running away from shit. Everybody has really helped me through my life. People have helped me lots.
I'm here to help. I'm here to advise. I'm here to tell you all that there's something out there for all of them.
But I sure love the people, and I like the creative end of it.
The conditions were, for me, that I could send my kids down the road to a little school, the school bus. I didn't have to raise them in Los Angeles. And we could get the community and the business going here the best we could.
The biggest thrill of my life was to have the three of us together on a movie set. Clay came with me a couple of times on the road, but Marshall came with me to Europe and all over the place. But they both did good in the business. Both of them quite successful.
Now you decided to show me the same. No sweet thing exists. Oh, off stage lines could make me feel bitter. Treat you unkind. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. I know I've dreamed you a sin and a lie. I have my freedom, but I don't have much time. Faith has been broken. Tears must be cried. Let's do some living after we die. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses
go past what you think your limits are. And do your best and win every time you go out there. And enjoy every minute of it. Because I did.
Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down Sunday. Yesterday and days before, sun is cold and rain is hot. I know, been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes, through the circle fast and slow. I know, it can't stop. I wonder, I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down Sunday. Yeah, I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down Sunday.
The movies and all that was just my work, and I tried my hardest to do good. But basically, I just want people to remember me as a good friend. That's it. No big deal.
Marshall and Barry, thank you. What a great tribute, wasn't it? Very powerful and moving. In the next few moments, we'll be hearing from the Big Five, I'm calling them today. Danny's close friends, Chris, Lisa, Eli, Gary, and Marnie, one after each other. Each of them will reflect a part of Danny's larger-than-life spirit, the world of stunt performers, filmmakers, and storytellers. It's a world where Danny poured his lifetime and talent into, a community of people who lived with courage, creativity, and quiet strength. I'm going to welcome Chris to start us all off.
Well, I don't think that video made it any easier to be straight and not emotional. That was a bit misty. And it reminded me that the last time that I stood up in front of all you guys, I was up there on the stage at the Commodore with Danny. A good memory. Anyway, hello, my name is Chris Webb, and I'm here speaking today on behalf of Danny's Stunts Canada family. I have the privilege of speaking here today not because I was Danny's oldest or closest friend, but because Danny and I had the same taste in people. It's crazy how times change. After our first phone call, it would have seemed impossible that I would be up here today. We can both be stubborn, and the conversation did not go well at all. Like, pretty bad. But that was 25 years ago, and somewhere along the line, we decided to give each other a second chance. Over the years, and really thanks to his sons, Danny and I became friends. And then we became good friends, and finally co-conspirators. You could definitely get on the wrong side of Danny, but believe it or not, with time and coaxing, it was possible to recover. Once he was on your side, though, he was hard to shake. More than once, when we were trying to help someone out of a tight spot, I heard him say, "He might be an idiot, but he's our idiot." Something like that. And then he'd make a call, and things would begin to work themselves out. He was a hell of a fixer. Danny was also a powerful player in our business. But instead of talking about that, what I'm going to do is touch on what I see as his true legacy and the quiet gifts that he gave Stunts Canada, our film community, and the communities we live in. By sharing the Virtue Foundation with the members of Stunts Canada, Danny taught us that by lifting the world, we lifted ourselves as a community and as professionals. This allowed us to express ourselves in ways that wouldn't have otherwise been possible. And although the Virtue Foundation raised millions, throughout the course of his life, Danny gave something far more valuable than money. He gave his time. You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. And he showed up. For many of us, Danny was a great source of reflection and advice. I was Stunts Canada president during the height of the COVID craziness, and I was bothered by how polarizing the subject was. And I was starting to see cracks in our foundation. I didn't want Stunts Canada to fall apart on my watch. So as I often did, I went to Danny for advice. But first, he had questions. And I'm telling you, this would drive me nuts because I would call him, I'd be all worked up, I'd be cursing, I'd be venting, he would be cutting me off, and he'd be asking, "How's Luke? How's my little buddy? When are we getting him on a horse? How are things around the house?" I mean, I understood what he was doing. He was putting my frustration in context. But getting this advice from a guy who could be the angriest man in the world sometimes was a little bit hard to take. I guess that's one of the beautiful things about human beings. We tend to give great advice, but we never take ourselves on subjects that we have a lot of experience with. Anyway, eventually he just listened, and then he leaned in with his mischievous smile, and he said, "Listen, Chris, not everything about a gang is bad." My Danny voice kind of failed me there. I got his point. As members, we agreed to share a destiny. We're each individually responsible for one another, and sometimes it's okay to leverage that. There was other subtext too, but we're not here today for dirty laundry. Not everything about a gang is bad indeed. It was good advice. This conversation happened, as so many of them did, on the front porch of Danny and Charlotte's beautiful home. If you have ever had the pleasure of spending a single sunny afternoon on that patio, it will live in your memory forever. It's the perfect place to have a conversation. You're in the shade, but it's warm. Charlotte's flowers sway on the breeze. Out front, tucked in beside the tree-lined driveway, there's a postcard-perfect barn that frames the left edge of the view. There's a huge paddock with pasture that stretches from the barn all the way across to Sherwood Forest on the right. Horses kick up their heels. Highland cows strut by with their huge horns and cartoonish good looks. The next generation of stunt kids flip off the rock into the pool, and River rests in a shady spot, watching over his kingdom. Beyond the pasture, the field turns to forest to hills, and the mountains behind Stave Lake appear in the distance, faded like in stages, like a watercolor painting. Knowing Danny, it was no accident that the light at the ranch is spectacular. Everyone looks younger because they're all backlit by the sun that never seems to get in your eyes. There's no cell reception, and you feel like you've just had an embrace from an old friend. On that patio, Danny, Charlotte, and their friends and family tell tales of heroic feats, talk about success and failure, dreams and aspirations, of love, loss, and starting over. We celebrate each other, we hold each other accountable, and we learn to love each other on that porch. Danny and Charlotte were married on that porch. The ranch is a place that we work and play, a place that we earn a reputation, a place where we get to know each other's kids. We ride our motorcycles there when we need a break, and we end up there and we have nowhere left to go. It's the cultural center of the BC stunt community. There's no other place quite like it, and it's an irreplaceable part of Danny's legacy. This legacy lives in the memory of Clay and the lives of Charlotte, Marshall, Leo and Felix, and Sarah and Kai. It also lives in the people he brought into our business, or brought from our business into his family and saved, likely from disaster in some cases. David Jaycox, Brent, Eli, Quentin, EJ and Chelsea, Jim Rowe, Michael Shapiro, Robert Petrovich, so many others. I want to say one last thing. If you're a friend of Danny's, you have likely had the pleasure of being introduced by him. It goes something like this. This is my good friend Scott, Stunts Canada member, one of the best stunt guys in the world. He's great with his kids. Then he looks him right in the eye. He's a good man, he says, and the other person has no choice but to believe that it's all true. As someone who often struggles to see their own value in the world, it was a wonderful gift, and selfishly, something I'm going to miss. So the next time you introduce someone or talk about someone, add a little flourish. Say something extra that you like or admire about them. Elevate your own status by lifting those around you. And think about Danny when you do it. Danny was a pioneer, an empire builder, a philanthropist, and a fearless character who was never afraid to bet on himself. Like so many of you, Danny was also my friend. I don't have many people in my life that know just when to call. So I'm going to miss him. A lot. We are never going to get another one like him. Well, buddy, I guess this is goodbye. We're all glad you made it home. Thank you.
Whew. Danny was our buddy. It's hard to know where to start because there's just so many stories about Danny. It's hard to know where to go. Danny made us laugh. He was a great storyteller. He had great intuition when it came to animals and to people. And if he liked you, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And if he didn't, you'd just be going, Danny, you can't do that. He was incredibly generous. And as many of us, we had private moments with Danny where he'd say, between me and you. I met Danny when I was 26 years old on one of my first shows. And one of his first words of wisdom were, always hire the people you want to ride on the bus with. And that turned out to be true for just about everything. I remember in the early days, and I don't know if I heard this story from Danny or someplace else, but it sort of like says everything to me about Danny. I remember he was shooting something on the ranch, and he was at the catering truck getting breakfast, and he was in some sort of wee willy winky nightgown with a jean jacket and some gumboots on. And the location PA kept coming up to him in complete distress, saying, there's a guy down the way, and he keeps putting his chainsaw on every time we're gonna roll. And I can't get him to stop. And Danny just looked at him and said, oh yeah. So Danny got his breakfast, and he went down the way, and he asked the guy to turn the chainsaw off. And the guy looked at him and said, you're gonna have to pay. Danny just looked at him, gave it a beat, reached down into his gumboot and pulled out a gun. And that was the end of the noise. Danny was in the Dunbar gang. He worked with the circus. He was an amazing stunt man. He was a stunt coordinator, a director, and he did his own show, Neon Rider, as well as worked on so many different shows. You can't even list them all. He was a horse whisperer, and he made prominent actors feel comfortable, look good, and be able to ride a horse. A couple of people have already mentioned it was his mother, but before the last time I saw Danny, he told me that his grandmother looked at him one day, looked him in the eye, took him by the hand, and said, "You are going to be powerful in your life, but it's important to be kind." Danny was incredibly generous with his friendship and with everything that he did. He put that incredible stunt thing on every year for 30 years with the stunt community and special effects community for kids with disabilities. And one of the things that I think was just so amazing was that he figured out some sort of a harness that kids with physical disabilities could actually get in, sit on a horse, and ride a horse and know what that felt like. It's pretty amazing. He made a good friend in Casey, and I'm sure we're all going to see that documentary soon, as well as the Boys Club. Many of us know what that is here, as well as the Virtue Foundation. Over the years, sometimes we'd go for big, long periods without talking too much. We're on different shows, different things going on in our lives. And we'd meet at the Italian Cultural Center and have lunch to get caught up. This one particular time, I was sitting there telling Danny, I think I want to learn meditation. I saw this book by David Lynch called Catching the Big Fish, about going deep down and, I don't know, finding meditation, transcendental meditation. And I said, but I didn't feel comfortable with any of the people that I met. And Danny goes, "Oh yeah, I can probably help you out with that." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, back in the day when I was getting clean and sober, this guy taught me transcendental meditation. I've been doing it for over 40 years. And I was like, what? Like, that just seemed crazy to me. Not only that, he had been to David Lynch's house in LA. They'd talked about transcendental meditation. Anyway, he got me set up. I learned it, and that was thanks to Danny. Danny knew so many people from every walk of life. If he had a phone, he knew who to call. If you were in the government, a gang, the police, a bigwig in the business world, a famous actor, or anyone in the community. So many of his stories seem so incredible that sometimes you were like, is that really true? One of the last times I saw him, he showed me a picture of him. I thought it was the Order of Britain, but somebody said it was, I'm not sure what it was, but he showed me a picture, and he was supposed to go and have lunch with King Charles. But because of his cancer, he was going to try and convince Marshall to have lunch with King Charles in Monaco in November. I mean, who can say that stuff? In Danny's last days, he'd been in an accident, and he had a broken collarbone, a broken arm, a broken pelvis, and his cancer. But he had one good hand, and he was able to use the phone, and he wanted to marry Charlotte. He was excited to tell me that he had the rings figured out, he had the pastor figured out, and he wanted to marry her on the ranch. He just needed to get her to say yes. And he put everything together with one working hand in the hospital room, and they were married on a gorgeous Saturday, this August 23rd. Charlotte. We all know that Danny was a handful, but you were his rock and his sunshine, and he loved you dearly. He was so proud of his sons. But Marshall, we know Danny was not always easy. He could be tough. And I can tell you he was so proud, not just of what you became to all of us in our industry, but the father you've become and for how you take care of your family. The thing he was most proud of, though, was he was so proud of you as a son. You may not have heard it a lot, but I can tell you, he was so proud. Danny lived hard and full as anyone could. He was like a comet. He just came in and you couldn't forget. He always had a twinkle in his eye, and you knew when he was in the room. In the end, when the doctor kept telling him, "You have to go back to the hospital, you're gonna die," Danny died the way he wanted to, at home, listening to his grandkids swimming in the pool, sunshine on the beautiful green fields of the ranch, with fresh air coming through the doors, and with his family. We are gonna miss you, Danny. You were our buddy. Whew. We know we can't have any more moments between me and you, but if there is another side out there, I like to think that you're stirring things up for the rest of us and that we'll get to meet you again someday. We love you, Danny.
Well, I wish I had gone first and hadn't seen the video. Yeah, it's great having the five of us speak because everyone's covering different scenarios and different takes of life from him because I just didn't know really where to begin. The hat's basically to cover the tears, but I'm honored and humbled to have been part of Danny's life and to be celebrating his life with all of these amazing people here. Because of Danny, I have some of my best friends and colleagues that I now consider part of my extended family. When I was a teenager, just finishing high school, my dream was to be a stuntman. My best friend's father, Charles Lyle, introduced me to the man that would alter my entire life. I grew up in the city, and the first drive out to Mission down the windy road seemed like an eternity. I had no idea who the person I was about to meet. I had no idea who he was and what the virtue world that was bigger than life and hard to comprehend still to this day would be. Within the first month, I watched him train his Liberty horses in the arena to run to a mark, rear up, hang on his every word just by voice and whips from a distance. Some would call him a horse whisperer. I found Danny to be a horse yellerer. He had his dogs at the time, Timber and Nellie, protecting the house. This was a fantasy land with tales of running away to the circus when he was young. I watched him bring the hospital's dialysis ward out to the ranch for the very first Virtue Foundation day, where Alex Green used his precision whip skills to cut flowers out of stunt guys' mouths. Danny was an entertainer, but could also ignite hope into anyone that needed it. He sold the allure of the industry that most of us chase on a daily basis. He was the proudest father. You couldn't come between Danny and his sons, or you shouldn't. And I spent many hours on the road with him, on long drives. He would talk about stories of Clay and Marshall growing up and their flourishing careers that one day I would hope to endure as well. He loved talking about his father, Big Train, and Mother May, who ultimately painted the picture for his incredible life. He spoke of how he met Charlotte. I could feel the respect he had for her and the romance from such a golden time, stealing horses from Southlands, riding them through the streets of Dunbar to see Charlotte at her girlfriend's house. Drastically contrasted by Charlotte, Eli and I need roast beef sandwiches and a Pepsi on ice. Working for him was the hardest job I've ever had. He definitely didn't go easy on me. Looking back, he could have given up on me, but he cared. And I cared about him. He was always encouraging it, even when he wasn't. Regardless of whether I was down or up, but especially when I was down. He had my back, and that's what he taught Marshall, Clay, that's what he taught Brent, and eventually myself when I came into the picture. He taught me to work hard. Don't think about the money. It'll pay off eventually. However, we all know that he thought about the money. A lot. But it kept me honest and accountable and loyal. He taught me failure wasn't an option, and no matter what happens, you keep fighting. He was the toughest guy with the largest heart. But he made me feel like any troublesome situation was going to be okay. Especially because he had an appetite for conflict. He would say, Eli, I've got a horse that isn't broke, or I was given this horse that throws everybody off. Let's go downstairs, throw a saddle on it. You can ride it, I'll make some phone calls. Sounds sketchy, I was into it. He could go from wheeling and dealing on the phone with Jim Rowe, Justice Green, Crawford Hawkins, or Randy Sheveldave, then hang up the phone and train a horse to lay down. I also thought he got a kick out of teaching me how to ride. He'd yell at me, "You look like a monkey fucking a football, Eli, sit down." Sorry, Kai. Sorry, Leo. But he would follow up with a good job. You and that horse are both learning something today. Whether it was family, film commission, Stunts Canada, Virtue Foundation, charity work, new friends or old friends, he brought people together and always had a caper he was working on. I just want to thank him for being hard on me. What did Danny do for you? The impact this man had on so many careers and lives, let alone the film industry itself. Danny didn't change with the times. He did it Danny Virtue's way. He was ahead of his own time, so naturally he knew how to evolve. Thank you, Honest Dan. I love you, and I miss you, man.
That was really beautiful, Eli. Wow. I was fortunate enough to meet Danny over 45 years ago through my partner and the legendary stuntman, Dar Robinson. Dar and Danny had met early on in their careers when they were both performers in the circus. Danny and I hit it off immediately. It was easy for me to recognize that Danny was a unique and an incredible individual. It has been an honor for me to have Danny as a friend. Besides from being an amazing horseman, Danny was a very kind and generous man. He always went out of his way to help people, especially those with special needs. Danny raised tons of money for the ill and disadvantaged, and he received great satisfaction organizing the Virtue Foundation's annual fundraisers. Danny Virtue was a righteous human being, and I'm proud to have been his friend. A couple of stories. As most of you know, Danny was a master storyteller. Few people I've ever come across come close to his ability to hold an audience spellbound. I would talk with Danny regularly, and he would always have something extraordinary to tell me about. I remember him telling me stories about the buffalo that he came to have that really seemed to hate Danny. If Danny was in the corral with him, the buffalo would begin to lean on him and try to crush him against the railings. Or another time, Danny was riding the buffalo. I'm not sure anyone else has done that before. And the buffalo would charge right into the gate or under a low-hanging tree branch in an effort to shed Danny off his back. Another story I remember hearing was how Danny had to shoot second unit on a film with an A-list star. The scene was a star driving a high-speed car chase on a very bumpy dirt road. I'm not saying the star for their sake. The star said, "Don't worry, Danny, I can do this." And Danny, knowing better, but not wanting to insult the star, said, "Let me take you on a practice run first." So Danny buckled them up, both up, put some gear on them, took off down the rough road. Well, after the star was bounced around, thrown around, pounded left and right and up and down in the front seat, he quickly realized that he was way out of his league and wanting to be the stunt driver. "Danny," he said, "I think I'll let you do this one for me." So the scene was shot, the director got the action he wanted, and the star walked away unhurt and was forever grateful that Danny had him as his double. Danny's been like a brother to me, and I will forever remember the sparkle in his eyes and the nothing is impossible attitude that Danny brought forth every day. I will miss you, my big bro, and you will never be forgotten. I love you, Danny.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marnie Yang, and I was a friend or I am a friend of and colleague of Danny's. Danny and I were very different. He was a bull in a china shop, big and scary. And I'm small and not very scary, although I hear that could be up for discussion. And I'm not talking about the small part. We all know how much Danny loved to make a big spectacle. Witnessing the way he commanded the floor with all eyes on him seemed to be one of his favorite things. Today, he would definitely be in his element. There is some truth in suggesting that Danny was a mentor of mine, although I often use Danny as an example of how not to do things and how not to be. But truth be told, there were many things about Danny that I had an extraordinary amount of respect for. His commitment and his love for his family and his craft were paramount. He absolutely lived his life for both. His contributions to the film business in BC and Canada is unrivaled by most. Many of us have our careers because of the time and work he invested in our industry. This includes me. He undeniably had a hand in mine. When I first started out, Danny hired me to work on Neon Rider, which gave me the 6th credit I needed to get into the performing union. This was the start of a long and fulfilling career that I've been blessed with to this day. Danny was extremely generous with his time if he liked and believed in you. But he demanded that you make the effort and that you do the work. Early in my career, I would drive out to the Virtue Ranch, visit on the wraparound porch that we've all spoken about, at his home, and ride horses. Of course, nothing comes for free, and this came in trade, which included shoveling shit and listening to his stories. Some so outrageous that I never really knew how many of them were true. As nonsensical as they seemed, his performances were always incredibly entertaining. Danny also gave me my first opportunity to be an assistant stunt coordinator. He guided me on how to break down scripts and how to build a budget, although it was on a paper napkin. I watched how he interacted with the cast and crew, and he introduced me to so many people along the way. Cut to this past year when we worked together, me as the stunt coordinator, and he as the horse wrangler. Although I was the stunt coordinator, many times he couldn't help himself from giving me suggestions and advice, even when I didn't want it. But I have to say, regardless of his motivation, Danny always genuinely cared about what would end up on the screen, and it was not negotiable. During this project, Danny was quite unwell, but he would show up and continue to step in and command the floor, just like he had always done. There's one thing to be said about Danny, it's that he was stubborn and he wasn't going to go down without a fight. This past June, I visited Danny at the ranch, and similar to days gone by, we sat on his wraparound porch. It was a beautiful, cloudless day, and we chatted about our time here. His positive outlook was unwavering, and although he suggested that things were pretty wild, he assured me, and he said to me, "Marnie, I think I can wiggle out of it." When Danny spoke, his strength of conviction was undeniable. What he believed was truth, and at that moment, I wanted to believe he was right. But time has a way of winning, and it's like that for all of us. And some of us get more than others, and some of us get less. In recent years, Danny and I had the misfortune of having membership in a club no one wants to belong to. His loss of his son Clay and mine of my stepson Jake was a tie that bonded us. I think he gave me some allowances because of this. I feel comfort in knowing that Danny is with Clay now, and I expect that they are wreaking havoc together. If you know either of them, anything else just wouldn't make sense. So here's to you, Danny, and your reunion with Clay. Thank you for the friendship and the memories that you gave me and everyone you touched in this room. I'll miss you, Danny. You're one in a million. See you on the other side. Just don't expect me too soon.
Some of you might have been reminded of your own story, your own interaction with Danny. And so at this time, for a very short time, I'm going to give you that opportunity with your new friends just to go, you know what, I remember this. Go ahead and share it with the person beside you. Go ahead. I want to thank the Big Five, Chris, Lisa, Eli, Gary, and Marnie. Thank you. You represented, yes. You represented that guy, Danny, very well. Sounds like you had a few risks attached to that, too. See, I think what I learned from that was with Danny, all of you didn't just make movies. You helped create stories that gave people hope, to use their imaginations, to escape the world. And they were inspired in a way different way than they were before they entered. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the things and the friendship that bonded you and Danny together. At this point, I'd like to bring Larry Wright up. He's a friend of Danny and Charlotte's. He's also part of the family whose connection with them has been filled with warmth, gratitude, and love. Please welcome Larry.
Wow. Thank you all for being here. This is an amazing view. My name is Larry Wright, and I've had the privilege of calling Danny my friend for over a decade. My family, me, my wife Kim, and our kids Gemma, Casey, and Zach first met Danny on August 17th, 2014 at 11:16 a.m. And I know that because my photo told me that we photographed at that time. Danny has been a huge influence on our lives ever since. Our paths crossed at the event Danny created called Day at the Ranch. Every year, he would invite kids and families that have been experiencing hardships of various kinds to come out to the Virtue Ranch for an afternoon of fun, stunts, and laughter. At the time, we were in Children's Hospital with Casey's stroke, and this gave us a rare break from hospital life. On that day, Danny met my son Casey. The two of them hit it off immediately. And before we knew it, Danny had invited us out to the ranch again, and we did. Within a year, we found ourselves living on the ranch, surrounded by the peace and calm that we so badly needed after dealing with 13 years of cancer and other challenges. Danny became a mentor to Casey. He even started a documentary about our journey. Just when we thought it was nearly finished, the doctors told us Casey had an aneurysm. I'll never forget what Danny said. "Let's keep going then. The story isn't over." Through the years, Danny helped Casey get involved in shows, guided him, believed in him, to the point that Casey is now an ACTRA member. That's the kind of man Danny was. When he saw potential, he nurtured it. When he cared about someone, he showed it through action. If I had to describe Danny in one word, it would be determined. He worked harder than anyone I know, taking care of the ranch, his family, his friends, always ready for the next film shoot just around the corner. He kept moving forward and was a go-getter in every sense of the word. One of the greatest lessons Danny taught me was simple but powerful. Don't quit. Don't give up. That's how he lived. And of course, there was always Danny's stories. There were times I'd head over to see him for what I thought would be a quick 15-minute chat. And 2 hours later, I'd still be there listening to his stories. And even after a decade of friendship, I swear I kept hearing new ones. Danny Virtue made a difference, not just in film, not just in community, but in people's lives. My family and I will forever be grateful for his friendship, his mentorship, and his unstoppable spirit. Thank you, Danny Virtue. We have so many special memories of times with you and your family. We love and miss you, and will keep your lessons and your stories alive.
One of the things that happens when we all get tense is we stop breathing. Can I encourage you to breathe? Take a breath. I have a message from Charlotte I'd like to read to you. Danny, always a showman. He would shine in the warmth of friends and relatives and neighbors, performers, ranch enthusiasts, and loved ones. I loved him, and after 50 years, I married him. And on a side note on that, I'm maybe the only person in this room that was the one that married them, and I am the one that also is doing Danny's funeral. And Danny said to me one day, Dave, I want to marry Charlotte. I thought, okay. Well, how long have you guys been together? 50 years. I said, why now? I think it's right. I love her. I now shift my focus to Marshall, Charlotte said, who without him, his memorial would look like a precision and grace. It would lack the precision and grace it emulates. In his artistic video, seamlessly edited, we were with Danny and his life. We felt him. This beam was ignited by the light and unwavering drive to honor his father, offer relief to me, and by taking the reins, bringing us as one. Today, a Savior, in our hearts, we all have a Savior, and today, Marshall is mine. I would like to thank everyone for sharing today, giving tributes and honoring Danny's life with our family. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte. At this time, I would like to welcome Marshall Virtue to give the final tribute. A son who carries forward his son's legacy with courage, humility, and love. Welcome.
Wow. I know that everybody here would say that they could feel my dad's energy when he entered a room. He had a big presence. My dad touched many people's hearts, as you can see here today. My mom and I are so thankful for your support. Our phones haven't stopped ringing with condolences and people telling us what Dad meant to them. It sure showed. When my dad was in the hospital, he would have multiple visitors per day. People brought him food, helped him get up and walk. The help was invaluable. You know who you are. Your support has been both overwhelming and heartwarming. Again, thank you. When I'd visit my dad in the hospital, he'd look at me and say, well, other than this cancer, I'm loving life right now. It was so inspiring. He never lost his love for life or his determination. He lived by the words, go past what your limits are, and he did that every single day. Growing up with Danny Virtue wasn't always easy. My mom deserves a gold medal for what she put up with from a determined man who is larger than life. He loved his work. I'd tell him about a bad day on set. He'd look at me and say, well, at least you're working. In my early days in film, I assisted Dad on many projects. He would be doing 5 shows at one time. I worked with him to set up the stunts. We'd set up the stunt before he arrived, and he'd show up right before the gag and ask, what are we doing? And we'd explain it to him, and he'd take the floor and give the most theatrical and confident safety meeting of all time. He'd have everybody on the edge of their seat. The voice of authority, the voice of safety, the voice of a legend. He would set his mind to something and pull things off most would think are impossible. His friend Winston Record was an unemployed actor, and my dad was his unemployed stunt double. They lived together in Los Angeles and wanted to come back to Vancouver. Dad had the ranch and the horses, so they incorporated that into the plan that was Neon Rider. The idea for the show was literally dreamt up in the kitchen with no producing or show running experience. He always kept going forward, new ideas, new plans. My dad would meet somebody I knew, and they'd often say to me, your dad is the best person I've ever met. It happened to me all the time. I mentioned it to Dad, and he would just say some interesting fact about the person that he just met. He had that ability. He wasn't just a horse whisperer, he was a people whisperer. He'd know their life in 10 minutes. Without recognizing it himself, he was quite spiritual and in tune with people. He might have loved big, but he hated his enemies with a passion. It was more fuel to the fire that was Danny Virtue. He loved his friends, and he didn't care if you're a politician, a gangster, a farmer, or a police officer. There was no judgment. He wanted to hear your story and be your friend. It didn't matter what you've done. If he liked you, he'd be your guy. He loved his grandkids so much. Kai, Leo, Felix. He doesn't want you guys to be sad. He wants you to try to be your best and be good humans. He was so proud of you. Mom, you're a great partner to Dad and a wonderful mom to me and Clay. I feel so blessed to be raised by you and Dad. I think if my dad were to say anything to this crowd, it'd be to love your friends hard, be loyal, and never give up on your dreams. Thank you for being here for me and my family, and thank you for coming today. That's all.
Well, we've come to the end of our time today. And I want to thank each of you for sharing your love by showing up, your stories, and your respect for Danny and his family. I'd also like to take this moment and recognize the Virtue family. Charlotte, Marshall, Leo, Felix, Kai, Sarah. Thank you for your sacrifice. Because that's a big sacrifice for everyone here, to sometimes say goodbye to the one you love so that he could inspire a world and create something that was inspirational as well. So thank you for your sacrifice as well. I remember visiting Danny in the hospital one day when a few guests were already there. One of them commented, "Man, you know how much of a view from this room? They could have given you something better." Without missing a beat, Danny chimed in, "Well, at least there's a window. It gives me light and I can see outside." I don't know if you checked it out, but the place that we're in is a pretty nice ballroom. We're surrounded by windows that open up to the Burrard Inlet and the North Shore Mountains. It's hard not to look outside and not feel small. And yet there's something bigger out there. You see, if we leave what we know of Danny only inside these walls, only inside of this room, it's just going to stay here. If it stays within your heart, within your life, it stays within your mind, that's it. But I think Danny would want us to look beyond. We've heard the story over and over, like that day in the hospital. It's what's outside that's most important. It's what's out there that's most important. It's what it could be that's most important. It's filled with endless opportunities, daring possibilities, and a whole lot of venture before us where we never give up. We don't take any shit. And we're kind in most circumstances. Danny Virtue was many things: a stuntman, a friend, a mentor, and a father. He was fearless in his work, generous with his time, and endlessly patient when he needed to be. He built people up, he gave them confidence, and he helped see them to become capable as well. Eli, you said that. You see, his life reminds us that legacy is more than success or recognition in the credits at the end of a movie or seeing your name in the lights. Sometimes it's behind the scenes, quietly making things right, getting things right, training something right, doing it right, the little things. Other times, it's standing in the path of a speeding world, trying to find the courage to manage, to cope, to try and thrive at something. Danny's life was an example of what it means to go all in, to live fully, to live deeply, and to meet each day with that same fearless spirit and unshakable heart that defined him. This time that we've spent together, all the speakers, all the pictures, all the things that have been said, give testimony of that. One life can make a difference in the world around you, and that life can be yours. That's what he said. You can make a difference with your life. Look what I did. May I leave you with this final thought? Before Danny left the hospital, he had a relentless pursuit. He wanted to make sure everything was in order before he died. Didn't quite all happen. And then the second thing was, he wanted to walk. I remember going in there numerous times. He had a broken shoulder. You heard it, collarbone, broken pelvis. His arms weren't working. His legs weren't working. And then some big, massive individual would come in and he goes, "Let's go walking." And then they'd bring this and that. They set up things. They tuck tape this. And one day it was just a few steps. The next it was halfway down the hall. Next one, it was down the hall. And the next time, it was around the unit. Every breath God gave Danny mattered. I remember one day I asked him, I said, "Can you just tell me the story about, like, you got stage 4 cancer, you're fragile, you got on this horse, you're teaching somebody something, whatever it is, you're going riding. Like, and then your horse is galloping along and it steps in like a beehive, and then it takes off, and I said, what did you do? Like, I'm really interested in this. He goes, well, he said, I grabbed that horse around the neck. I said, well, then what? He goes, well, the whole time we were riding and going as fast as we could, I was trying to figure out how was I going to get off? And I said, well, like, get off, like, just, like, jump off, or I don't know, I couldn't figure it out. I'm not a stunt guy. I was like, what did you do? He goes, well, he said, I had to figure out how to make that horse buck. I'm like, the horse is running 8,000 miles an hour, and you want the horse to buck? He goes, yeah, he says, I just had to get that horse to buck at the right time so it would launch me through the air. And I said, okay. And I said, then what? He says, I don't know. But he says, when I was in the air, I was thinking about it. I said, and then I landed on my shoulder, broke my pelvis. He did what the psalmist prayed, help us to understand how brief our lives really are, so that we may live them with wisdom and purpose. You see, I think we need to honor Danny by living with the same courage, compassion, and joy that he carried in every moment. Because when we live with love and purpose, their memory never fades. Every time I visited Danny, he would ask and expect. It was always the thing. I thought he'd ask and forget, but he never would forget. He'd ask and expect one thing before I left. Didn't matter who was in the room. Well, Dave, are you going to? It's like, yeah, but you got people in the room. Well, come and pray for me. Okay. And that's what I'd like to do for you. Do you mind? You want to bow your heads, and I'd like to pray for you. God, I want to thank you for the gift of Danny's life, for the laughter he brought, the courage he lived with, and the love he shared so freely. I ask that you bring comfort and strength to Charlotte, Marshall, Sarah, and the boys, Leo, Felix, and Kai, and all those in this room who carry Danny's memories in their heart. May the legacy of his life, his creativity, and his fearless spirit continue to shine through all of us. And as we leave this place, Lord, help us to live with that same sense of purpose and determination that defined Danny's life. Amen. At this moment, I'd like you to take a breath. Take a deep one. Take another one. I believe this, what I heard today, what I want to challenge you to move forward with, what I don't ever want you to forget about Danny Virtue is this. If you have breath today and you wake up tomorrow with breath, and you have the breath the next day and the next day and the next day, that means you have a reason to live. And you got something to do. Don't let anything get in your way. Look beyond the walls that you're in and look to the mountains. Look something beyond yourself. Go for it. The Virtue family would love for you to stay, to share some stories and memories with the family and friends, and to continue celebrating Danny's remarkable life in this room. That's where the reception is going to take place. There's photos at the back. There's some saddles if you want to get on top. I guess you could do some stunts or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we have insurance here, so just be careful, okay? There's a lot of personal memories, but all of you have memories as well, so please feel free to share with your new friends. At this time, what's going to happen is the Virtue family is going to follow the pallbearers out of the room, and they're going to be led out of the room outside, and then they're going to come back. Not the casket, but the Virtue family. So what I'm really saying is, don't follow the family when the family leaves, okay? That would be kind of weird out there, okay? So just stay here. They're going to come back. And but here's where the reception is going to be, so you're welcome. Danny was a man who lived large and in his own way. On behalf of the Virtue family, thank you for celebrating Danny's incredible life. I'd now like to invite everyone to stand together in respect for Danny and his family. I bring up the pallbearers too, please.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and saw it through without exemption. I planned did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my it was my way.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Every time we stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going